and welcome to another video. In today's video, I am going to tell my video game history and the truth about video games. So stick around to the end because the truth about video games is very important. So, my earliest memories of video games are probably at like maybe 6 or 7 area zone years old in the pizza parlor. Okay, and this would be Asteroids initially, and I pretty much remember it being like, the pizza parlor had pinball, and that was pretty much it. And then video games came out, Asteroids first, and it was like I can, like, we'd go every Friday. That was my dad's thing, was Friday night pizza night, right? So, and there was like two different places that we went to in the time that I lived with him. So one was on McLaughlin, and it's no longer a pizza place. I don't remember the name of it. But then the other one was Pietro's, and that was down in Oak Grove area, and that had a big kids play area. So it was always about the Friday night. So we go every Friday night, and at the first one, it was like, one week you show up and one of the pinball machines is gone, and here's this standing thing, and my dad was a fucking fanatic about that shit. It's hard to get, he wanted to play. And it was Asteroids, and if you don't know what Asteroids is, that is some basic stuff, right? Apparently it's not the first video games. I mean, there was something back in the 50s, I think they had, that was comparable to Asteroids. So, and then I remember over the years, then here comes Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, and and then it just kind of exploded, right? The older I got. Now, I never had a home video game device until I was probably in my, well, we had a Commodore 64 at one point, and then me and my little brother like saved up and bought the Nintendo. I think it was in whatever the first Nintendo was with Mario Brothers, right? So we got the game, and the thing was like $100 or something, right? Which in today's money is probably, I don't even know, because this is whatever, not right when the first Nintendo. I can't say right. It had been out a while before me and my little brother. We probably got it on like some kind of sale discount or something at Toys R Us. So I remember though, when I was a kid, having friends that had like Ataris. And so I played Atari on a few occasions. So I was, hip to it, right? But where I played probably the majority of the video games as a kid was my parents owned a number, well, started off with one, but then grew to like 5, I think. Greek fast food restaurants in malls. Okay, so Clackamas Town Center was like home away from home. Like, I freaking grew up in Clackamas Town Center, like in our restaurant, which was called Euros. And so literally like 2 or 3 booths down was the arcade, right? The quarter arcade, right? So, and if I was lucky, I'd have a $5. That was a ton. Normally it's maybe 75 cents or a couple bucks or something like that to go play video games. And I was never very good. Like, and they were quarter sucking machines, right? But there'd always be the kids in there that were good, that were a good show. You know, you could literally just watch these guys play, and it would be sometimes more enjoyable because unless you got to see somebody play that was good, you'd never see those levels at all, never see that stuff at all. I would never. And it probably was just attrition, you know, they were just always hammered. Like, I would always play this game and that game and this game and that, and probably the guys that were good would focus on a game, right? And I never focused on a game. There were so many, like, and this is in the day of like 720, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Joust. I think I liked Joust. Probably because it was super easy. and this era, the 80s era of video games. So then we got a Commodore 64 second hand from like my stepdad's buddy, and they had basically loaded it with tons of games, right? And they were computer savvy family that we got this from, and we were not. So we were able to access just a little bit of that stuff, like the games. And honestly, trying to remember back, like what the games were like, and I can't. Honestly, I remember more being frustrated by the computer when I wanted to try this game or that game because all the games are so boring that you just, okay, now what's the other one? Okay, what's the other one? That type of thing. So, that was probably when I was about maybe 12 or somewhere around there, 13 something. And then, like I said, me and my little brother bought a Nintendo. And then and we only ever had one game for it. We had Mario Brothers. And so that was probably, I have to, like maybe 14, 13, 14, somewhere in there. So then when I was 16, my mom moved to Spain with my little brother, and I moved to my grandparents' house and started going to college classes and working. And honestly, I cannot remember doing any gaming, playing video games, at all. I might, like when I was in, getting there towards the end of where I was going into high school, I would play, what was that game? It was a driving Spy Hunter. Right. So down at the corner from where the high school was, there was a 7-Eleven down the street, and I was taking public transit because I didn't live in that school district anymore. And the school district I did live in, my mother didn't want me going to those schools, Portland Public, because the quality was North Clackamas School District was a higher quality school district than Portland Public School District. So my dad had a house that we were using the address. He had left to Alaska. Okay, so that was kind of what was going on. So I had to take the TriMet every day, and the TriMet, that bus was like once an hour, once every hour and a half or whatever. So there was this time of waiting. So, if I didn't spend all my lunch money on lunch, I could play some video games after school. So I did that. But then, honestly, I cannot remember being at all video games, playing video games in arcades or anything like that, because it was like, as soon as I moved to my grandparents' house, it was like, okay, I'm 16, I'm an adult now, right? I got to get a job, education, it's all this stuff, right? And learn what the world is. I'm 16, I don't know shit, right? And so playing video games, like, and my little brother, I think wait, excuse me. When I was 16, my mother moved to Corvallis with my little brother. That's what it was. She went to college. Yeah, that's what it was, right? So my mom took my little brother and went down to college. And she was in college and then graduated college and then they went to Spain. So that might even been like a couple years later. So my little brother took the Nintendo. And oh, I remember at some point playing Tetris. And that was like the big thing, man. It was like, oh, Russia's free now. Oh, look, they're smart. They made Tetris. You know, I had such high hopes for Russia back then. Well, I remember when the wall fell. I wish I could have gone over there and seen it. I remember thinking that at the time. And I was living with my grandparents at that time and not playing much video games, but had high hopes for Russia. So, now fast forward, I literally cannot remember doing anything. You know, I might have played some video poker when the Oregon first passed that law, possibly. Oh, no, I'm sure I did. I played some video poker, if that's a video game or not, you know. But then, probably around like 25 years old or something like that, I was living with a girlfriend, and I think what the deal was is she had a game console that was probably maybe like the first gen PlayStation, maybe, possibly. I can't remember, but what I do remember is I went and White Zombie, which was back in the day, was my favorite band. They put out a song that you only could get if you bought this video game, which was like called Twisted Metal 3. So I bought that and played the shit out of Twisted Metal 3, and that was a super fun game. And then I was kind of hooked, and I broke up with that girlfriend, and I got my own console. Again, it was probably the first gen PlayStation. That thing was, I think that was pretty much the only thing going for a while, kind of like the first Nintendo, if I remember right. And the games, when I went and got myself my console, the games I got were, oh, I totally forgot. Let me go back a little bit here. So when I was in high school, I had a friend that was older that lived on the houseboat mortgage, and there was two guys, and you know, people said they were gay or whatever, but I never saw any gay shit. Maybe not. Who gives a fuck? I didn't care. There was no gay shit to see. If there was, I don't know if I would have hung out or not. But there was two guys, roommates, lived together. One had grips of money, and the other one was, you know, pretty clever with stuff, you know, mechanical stuff, right? So, and they had fucking Nintendo, and fucking Nintendo Golf. So when I was a kid, would stay up late. Love to stay up late, and and I'd started hanging out with this dude, and because he was staying up late too, and we'd do shit like building the most badass RC10 remote control car. I mean, this dude flipped the motor around and made it a mid-engine, and this was like nobody was doing that shit back then. And so we would stay up late doing that or stay up late playing Nintendo. And literally, it was fucking golf. Nintendo Golf. And oh, that was so boring. Then they didn't have any any less boring video games. Like, they had a Nintendo with just And all I can remember is golf, so. But then that same, the rich dude, he bought a fucking computer. One of the very first, I think Compaq, right? 16 grand, scanner, printer, everything. I mean, literally a stack of manuals came with this shit that was like 5 foot tall. He stacked them all up. And that fool he was a reading machine. Charles read a lot. That's all he did. Read and watched movies. So I mean, he would there'd be people running around drunk doing all kinds of shit, and he'd just be sitting there reading a fucking book. I don't know how he could absorb anything, but he was old school smart. He had the money education. So he bought that computer, 16 grand, and what was the only thing he ever did on it? Play solitaire. Wow. Yeah, literally I never saw him do anything on that computer other than play solitaire. 16,000 bucks, right? He had money, but so anyway, so then, okay, fast forward now. Sorry, I had to go back. Forgot about that. The old Nintendo Golf. So now, fast forward, I'm buying my own system for the first time, and I've got all the money I want. I could buy whatever I want, right? And so I get this World War II reenactment. I don't even know. I mean, it was so basic. Like there was no, the animations were like a little cannon and a little cannon while the thing thought out what would happen. I mean, it was like almost like chess. You'd move here and then they'd move here and then, but it was like the battles of World War II. Okay. So there was that one. And then the other one was that I didn't play much. I only played it a couple times was Sims. Sims something. I don't remember what. Sims, right? And then the other one was The Horde. And I think that's the one I played the most. And The Horde, you would like build a village, and these things, the horde things, would come and attack. So every roll, you'd have, you could do this or that, dig a trench or put down spike pits or, build a house or plant a farm or whatever. And then the horde would attack and you'd have to battle them and prevent them from basically trashing all your stuff, right? And you just, as time would go by, you'd get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I played that a lot, right? And now this is the PlayStation the cops stole from me. I mean, they straight up stole it from me. I never got paperwork on it. All right. So now, no video games while I was in prison. They don't have video games in prison. It's a shame. I'd play the shit out of video games in prison. So then when I got out of prison, I wasn't really thinking a lot about video games. So now I remember I was I was buying supplements from the vitamin shop. And it had just opened, and I was chatty with the manager. He was hooking me up with all kinds of deals, told him I just got out of prison. So he was telling me about, how he was spending like this insane amount of money on a fancy computer to play games. I'm just like, what? What? So, mind blown, right? I mean, that's just like, holy shit, I didn't even know about that, really. That there was, people spending crazy money on computer, right? So anyway, and that was like 2006, right? So then I hooked up with a girl pretty much right around the same time, and I had a buddy that was big into computers, not gaming at all. So I had this girlfriend, and she hadn't really messed around with computers. I just wanted to get into computers. So I convinced her to buy a badass computer so I could watch my buddy build it so I could start to understand these things, right? And so he put it all together. And then she was using it for gaming. And I don't remember what kind of game she played on it, but I mean, we set it up multimedia. I installed a big giant flat screen on her. She bought a condo. I drilled a hole in the wall, ran all the wires, mounted the computer in a whole different room, ran wireless stuff for everything. Yeah, it was pimp. She spent like $3,000 in probably in 2006, maybe 2007, right? And so I hope she's doing good. I remember she was so proud of herself when the power supply went out and she replaced it like I think she might have had a hand from like a new boyfriend or something like that, but she basically got it done without taking it to a shop, and she was very proud of herself. So anyway, now fast forward, and I bought a house, and this house was a rent to own house, and I had to fix it up a bunch. So pretty much had to dump all my money into the house. So I pretty much, my entertainment used to look like, man, I would drive up to the mountain and go snowboarding and then come back and ride my bike. I would drive up to the mountain and go whitewater inflatable kayaking and then get back to town and ride my bike, or I'd go ride my bike, or I was just doing that kind of stuff all the time. Well, that stuff's kind of expensive. The gas money and the fucking passes, and and the time it takes to go and do all this stuff. So pretty much when I bought the house, like all that shit went out the window. Almost even the bike riding, because like I had an apartment downtown Portland, which is super bike friendly, where the house I bought was not bike friendly at all. So I literally would load my fucking bike up in my fucking vehicle and take it downtown to go ride my bike, right? So all that's out the window. So I start in on Netflix. And I roll with Netflix for a while, and then Netflix like pissed me off or something, or I was just like sick of it. I just like, I mean, if it was just like you could get anything in one place, that would be great. But now it's like, oh, these people produce this and it's over there. I don't even really watch fiction at all anymore. So, meh. So at that point, I had my little 13-inch MacBook Pro 13-inch, right? And so I go, oh, what kind of games can I play on this thing, right? And I found Borderlands 1. And it would literally play like this. So it wouldn't even fill the screen. And so I played that for like a year. Excuse me. And that was my entertainment. When I was entertaining myself, it was like that, right? Mostly it was work, but So then Borderlands 2 came out on Mac. Downloaded that, started playing the heck out of that. Again, the little tiny window in the 13-inch screen was all it could manage, right? So actually, I think I was still on the Netflix as well at this time. I just had done the games for fun. And I also downloaded another game on my Mac that was like the old school Galaga. So you literally just had a little spaceship at the bottom, and it was like these things would come in, fly in at first, and then they'd form a pattern, a squadron formation. There we go. They'd form a formation, and you're just down here, pew pew, and then a couple of them would break off and come at you. Okay, so I bought like the updated version for that on my Mac as well. And I think that was maybe the first game I got, and then I was like looking at, and I got actually up to like 400 levels at one point, which was just insane. I was playing for hours. Then I got Borderlands 2. Then Netflix pissed me off. Then I just cut Netflix and bought a 2014 Asus Republic of Gamers laptop. Big laptop, huge fucking thing, right? Okay. So then I start gaming on that, and I put, I get a Steam account, and I put Borderlands 1 and 2 and all the DLCs. Oh, and then the pre-sequel. So I go to these little sites, and you can buy the video games, old video games generally, for really, really cheap. Like literally like $2 and $1 and all this. You just get the codes that somebody else doesn't want anymore. So they just uninstall the video game, post their code, you buy their code, and bam, right? So I got set up with the Borderlands for like $40 or something. Not even, maybe. It was ridiculous. Like every DLC, not all the skin packs, but all this other stuff. So then I play that on that laptop, and it pretty much like got me hooked. I really hadn't seen good graphics. Its graphics were way better than the Macs, obviously, but still it would overheat and the quality and all this stuff. So then I traded it for this thing I have now, which I've just traded out. The only thing I've done to it is just in putting in NVMe drive and dual 1060s, right? And that's what I play on now. Okay. Wow, this is a really long video. Sweet. So then, excuse me. So, and now I play. Oh, no. Then I played Borderlands. That's it. Borderlands 1, 2. I was actually able to get my Borderlands 1 from Mac over to my PC, not Borderlands 2. So I literally have all my progress from all my playing of Borderlands 1 on my Mac on my PC. Not Borderlands 2. So then I played all those, just played the shit out of them, right? And there was a huge community around that, and just playing. And then when I got out to Off Grid, I didn't have it for a while, and then I was like, man, I need my gaming rig, so I got it all set up, built this thing here. So that's my stand-up gaming rig right there. So I stand. Oh shit, the light's on this. Please don't pump the thing. So, all right. So there, I stand like old school video games, right? I stand up and I play, and there's the there. So that's how I play games now. And so I got that all set up, and I was back to playing Borderlands, and then I was like, what's this online thing, right? So I'm like, I was like, I'm on a hotspot. I wonder if a hotspot could even do that type of gaming, which I'd never done that before. I'd always just played by myself. So it freaking worked. And it was like, holy cow, this is fun. And like I'd go into and people, because in Borderlands, it's all about, well, maybe not all about, but you can hack it and they don't care. Like, there's whole communities around that because it's not a competitive game. So whatever you do to the game, they don't really give a shit. So there's guys running around that they're just shooting out legendary weapons, just raining as they run around. It's just comedy. And I was like, whatever. So, and I was playing with some guys on occasion, the same guys, like on one of these little Discord things. And it was like, oh, cool. And then Apex Legends came out. Now when you're playing Borderlands, you're playing with people. You're not playing against people. You're playing against the computer. So when Apex Legends came out and it just had all this huge hype, and I had looked at Fortnite and I had looked at PUBG, and I really hadn't wrapped my mind around these. Oh, I totally forgot this other game I played too. Right when the iPhone came out, there was this thing called Archetype, which was like Apex Legends, but on iPhone. But it didn't last long. It went back out of business. So I played that on my iPhone for a while. Okay, now fast forward to Apex Legends. Downloaded that 1 week after it came out. Played it like almost every night since. Okay, and some mornings when it whatever. Sometimes all day long. Right? Like it depends on what's going on with the weather and stuff. Right? So. And now I play the heck out of Apex Legends, and you can watch the streams and see that I'm not that great. I am getting better. It's very complicated. It took a long time to even figure it out. When I first started playing, the guys I was playing with Borderlands with literally didn't want to play with me anymore. Like, oh, guy, you suck. And then this server that I started playing on, so I didn't have to play with random people, but everybody hated playing with me because I was so bad. Right now I'm getting to the point where I'm tolerable, but now everybody left the server, so oh well. But now here's the truth about video games, okay? It's health food for your brain. Anybody that says, like the right-wing gun nuts that are going, oh, it's the video games that are causing violence, they're lying. okay? These video games are health food, right? You got to moderate and all that stuff, and we could go on and on and on about all kinds of other things about whether people should make money off playing video games for a living, all this shit and all this blah blah blah. That's not the point. The point is your eyes become sharper, and your brain becomes sharper, okay? You're using parts of your brain and developing your eye-hand coordination, so this improves your brain. That's what it's doing. It's health food. Now, should people be playing video games all day, every day? No. It's like a part of a balanced diet. You should be playing this specific type of, I don't even think Borderlands qualifies. There's some thing to do with the head-to-head that, puts it on some next level that actually makes it like brain food, okay? And that is the freaking truth about video games. These people that are saying this is what's causing the mass shootings are lying sacks of doggy poo and don't listen to anything they say. So if they say that, everything else they say is poisoned as well. Fruit from a poison tree, okay? If they're willing to lie about that, you might as well just throw them in the freaking category as they're liars, because video games are health food. You can look it up. There's whole big TED Talks on it, and the actual research and science comes out from the video game lobby. They say, look, here's the truth. Here's these actual studies. Not just somebody going, oh my God, they play video games that kill people all day long. It's like not the killing of the people, it's the coordination and it's the skill set and there's a lot to it. You watch these video games of these high level players and their movements and strategies are just amazing, like their brains, and the difference between me, just your average, probably below average video game player, and one of these super high end is how many decisions their brains are making a second compared to mine. And it's like 4 or 5 times. So these guys like Ninja and Shroud and Lulu and Acer and all these top-notch players, I didn't name them all, okay, there's a lot of them, their brains are processing information faster. They're making more decisions faster than normal people. That's healthy, okay? And that's the truth about video games. And that's my history of video games. And you have a great day. Peace. Peace.